Hi folks, I'm just going to do a little demonstration video here for your new van here and give you a wee rundown how everything works. So we'll just take a wee run inside here and we'll start you off. So our step switch is here. Now the step will go on when you start the engine. It takes about 10 seconds. So you'll hear a beep and then it'll go in. So we'll just start you off here on your control panel. So we're looking at a control panel here, and you switch the van on and off here. You see the green light comes on, and then you have your water pump is this one, and then over this side here is your levels. So that's your fresh water level there, and it'll come up a wee light there when your waste is full. And this one here is your leisure battery. You can see it's up full, and this one here at the top is your engine battery. So that's your two batteries there. And that's the level indicator, and when you're plugged in you'll get this little light will come on here to show you you're plugged in, and that's just actually a heater for your wastewater tank. It's just really for really cold climates, and that's what that's for. So that's really all there is to your control panel. Now we would recommend that you plug the van in at least 2 days every fortnight to keep your leisure batteries in top condition throughout the winter time, especially when you're not using the van. And I know you have a solar panel on here and 2 new batteries, but plugging the van in is actually the best way to charge the van. So plugging it in as often as you can will really boost the batteries and keep them very healthy. And you have 2 new AGMs in there now, so it'd be nice to keep them alive. So the next thing we're going to look at here is just your fridge, and we have our main control knob here, and when it's at 0 it's off. The first setting is on gas, and you can hear it lights up and that'll stay steady. Now if that flashes there, it means your gas is probably switched off. If it stays steady, everything's okay. The next one then is your 220 volt, your mains, and at the moment it's not lit up because we're not plugged in. And the last one then is your 12 volt. That only works off the engine when you're travelling. So you freeze it up the night before on the mains, and then when you're travelling you can put it on to 12 volt, and then back up to 0 is off. And this little button here heats up this wee bar here on the fridge, and it keeps to avoid condensation. So that's all that there is for. That's the heater to heat up this wee bar here to stop condensation coming on this panel here. So that's what that is. And then over this side here you just have your temperature. So that's really all there is to your fridge. You have your door, your locks, which lock the opposite way, and then you can open them that way. And there's a wee vent on them as well. You just look there now. You can see that you have 2 wee indentations there. If you use the outer one, it'll actually leave the door open a wee bit to let a bit of fresh air in, and then that's the locking one here at the back. And always make sure you have it in that position there before you close the door, otherwise you'll damage the wee metal thing in there. So that's just your fridge catch. So the next thing we're going to look at here is your heating controls. This is your Truma heater, which is underneath the bed, and somebody's put a wee sticker on here at the top and it'll tell you exactly what the settings are, but I'll just run through them for you. But that there is very handy, that wee sticker there. But I'll just show you here. When we're working on this wee knob, when that's at 0, it's off. And when you bring it down to the first one, that's heating the van on gas. And this inner knob here is your temperature. This one here is the temperature you want to set the heating at. So if you set it at 5, it'll just cut itself in and out once it gets to the temperature. If you leave it up at 9, turn that around to 9, it'll just work and it'll blow all the time. And down the bottom one here now is heating the van and heating the water, and then the top 2 then are just heating the water on their own, either at 40 degrees or 60 degrees. And it shows you up there on the wee sticker how that operates. Now I'll show you the valve on the heating, which is located underneath the bed here. This is your heater here, and that heats the water and the van at the one time. It does the whole lot. It's a combi heater, and we're looking here at this red valve here. Now this is your frost valve, and at the moment you can see it's up, and that means that the water system's closed. Now in the frost, what'll happen is at 2 degrees, no, plus 2 degrees, that'll actually drop down itself like that there. It'll push down, and what actually happens then, it drains all the water in the heater will actually drain out through that valve there, out onto the street. So at any time that you don't have any pressure in your taps, always come and have a look at this. Now If it's dropped down, that means you'll have no pressure in your taps. You've actually opened the water system. So anytime you have any problem with your taps, always come and have a look at this, make sure it's up. Now if you want to winterize the van, which I mean by that is to drain all the water out of your van in the winter time, you'll have to come around here first. Now the first thing you need to do is make sure your pump's off, so you don't just pump all the water out of the van. Switch off your pump, press this down, and all the water in the tank will drain out, and all the water in your taps will drain out. Now at this stage you'll need to open all your taps in between hot and cold. So I'll just show you what I'm talking about. If you take your tap here, you have hot that side and cold that side. So in between the two, come in here and open it up. And eventually the water will stop, and all that water will drain out through that valve underneath the bed. So you'll have to open up all your taps in between hot and cold. So that's cold and that's hot. So in between the two, and that'll let air into the pipe. Now we'd recommend in the very cold winters where it might be -5 or colder, that you would actually at that stage put your mouth, if you can, over the top of the tap and actually blow into it to blow all the water away from the head of the tap to avoid damage. So when you would come back then after winterizing your van, what you would do is switch on your pump, come around here and pull up your red valve and switch your tap on in the hot position, and the first thing it'll do, it'll fill up your hot water heater itself, and then you'll get a free flow in your taps, and that's you back in action again. Now you can drain the freshwater tank and the wastewater tank as well in the winter time. So I'll just give you a quick rundown on your toilet. Your toilet flushes here with the blue button, and you'll get the red light on here whenever the cassette needs changed, and it's straightforward enough. And then you have your handle here at the side. Now the handle is now connected to your SOG unit, so as soon as you open this handle, the fan will come on. So it's important that you make sure that's always closed, otherwise your fan on your SOG unit is going to run constantly. So that always has to be closed for your SOG unit to stop. Now as soon as you open that, the SOG comes on, and as soon as you close it, the SOG goes off. So we look at your hob here. You have to use an igniter yourself and use of the ordinary gas valves. There's safeties in all these, so you need a flame on the actual ring for the gas to continue to come out. So if a child or someone comes along and turns these here, at the moment there's no gas going to come out until there's actually heat on the thermocouple. So they're good and safe that way. And your oven and grill are the same. Now your oven's got a wee light on it, and it's self-igniting. You just press in the button and you can see it lighting there itself. That's your oven there, and that's the oven on that side. And at 0, you can see there the two offs are lined up, and then the other one then is your grill. That's one right there. You can see your grill lighting up. So that's what they do, but they self-ignite when you press that in, but your hob actually doesn't. So we're just looking here, it's underneath your seat here. You have your fresh water tank, and you can see the wee drain is that wee valve down there. At the moment it's closed, and to open it you turn it the opposite way, and that'll drain out your fresh water tank. So you just open and close that valve, and then there's a little hatch here at the top for cleaning the tank if you want to screw that off. But that there wee valve in there is how that wee red boy there, just turn that in line with the pipe and it'll drain the fresh water tank for you. So we've fitted all your USBs. So you have one here and one up here now behind this curtain beside the light. You see your second one there, and they're all doubles, and you have another double there, and then down the back here you have another double just in there. So that's all your USBs fitted. Now what we're looking at here, you have an airbag system in this van, which means you have 2 airbags on the back suspension, and what that does, it'll lower or raise the back of the van and actually make the back of the van more stable. Now you can control that. At the moment you can see the gauge is at 2 or 3, sorry, and that is activated by your own compressor. So when you press that button, you can see it'll go up. Now the maximum you can put into that there, it says here 7 bar, but I wouldn't put much more than maybe 4 or 5 in, because the bag is so hard at that stage that you're going to get, that's about as much height as you're going to get. And to release the airbags, then you just press this wee button here, and you'll actually see the back of the van going down. Now you'll always have to leave in, you see here, minimum 1 bar. So you'll always leave in 1 bar, which is probably that first mark there. always leave in one bar, so the bags have actually always got a bit of air in, that the bag isn't you know, it's completely flat. So the bag always needs at least one in, and you can put in as much as you want. But as I say, you'll see the van going up. Once you get around 4 or 5, you're really up as far as it's going to go. So that's a handy wee feature. And then beside that, then you have your 12-volt fuses. And you can see that's your fire extinguisher, and that's the wee compressor for the airbags, if you're wondering what that is. So around this side here we have your solar regulator that regulates the voltage from the solar panel. It's just on the side of the seat. Now we always fit these as close to the battery as possible, and that's the reason that it's on here. And that'll give you your maximum amount of voltage from the panel. Now there's nothing you have to do with this at all. There's no buttons to press or anything to do. You'll see the wee lights flashing there on the solar panel itself, and the top light, and the middle one shows the battery and that just continues to do that all the time. So that's where that is on the seat, and you have your two new leisure batteries are in underneath that seat as well. So just moving around to the side of the van here, you have a barbecue point here that works off the gas that's in the cylinder from the gas compartment. So it's a handy wee feature to plug in your barbecue. We'll leave you a wee attachment for that, and you'll just connect it onto your hose. And next door to that there is just the exhaust from the heater. And then just in the boot here you have that's just a wee plate to give you a bit more height for your jack and your wheel brace. And then inside there you have your on handle. Now you can see underneath the van here at the back, you have corner steadies. You just pull out that green thing and the corner steady drops down. So you'd have a wee look at that. And then back around to your cassette, you can see we have your SOG unit fitted. And there's just a wee stopper here hanging inside the door, and that goes on the end of the pipe when you take out the cassette. So as I say, it's fairly straightforward. It just runs itself when you open and close the shutter. And your cassette just clips out from in here and pulls out. And we're in now in your gas compartment, and what you have here, we're running the van on propane, which would always stay in propane. Don't use butane, always stay in the propane. The van's working an awful lot better on it. And the only thing you have to do is turn off your gas here on the top of the bottle, and that'll isolate the gas from the van inside. Now in this van you have a different type of regulator, so when you open the gas you're going to have to follow the pipe up here, and you see this green button. So you'll have to press that green button and like that for about 5 seconds anytime you change the cylinder or turn the gas back on again, and that'll ensure that you're getting your gas through. So that's the only extra feature you'd have. The nut here is a left hand thread, and we've left you a spanner here for it. That loosens clockwise and it tightens anti-clockwise. And there's just a rubber on the end of that, and always keep an eye that doesn't fall out or anything, but that's something you need to keep an eye on your hose, that the rubber is always okay. But it loosens clockwise and tightens anti-clockwise, and you can switch. I'll just switch this off now because we don't need it. And that's your gas now off. And you have enough room in there. You have enough room there for a second cylinder. So the last few things outside, you have your plug-in, and then you have your fresh water fill. Now the only thing I would watch is that you have your diesel fill here, and the water fill's not far away from it. So make sure in filling stations you don't give your keys to somebody, that they start filling the water tank instead. So just a wee quick look here in your engine compartment. If you ever have to jump start the van, you have a positive terminal here for your jump lead, and you can put the negative on to say the frame of the engine, but that's where your positive goes, and it's well enough marked there for you. And yeah, the only other thing you'll probably be doing is your window wash in here. That's your engine water there, so you can leave that alone. And your dipsticks here at the front. Now in this van, if you want to open the bonnet, you can see here at the front. I'll just get the keys here a second, I'll show you. To open the bonnet on the Fords, you put the key in here and you turn it one way, and then that way. When you turn it that way first, the bonnet will lift up, and then when you turn it that way, then you can lift the bonnet. So that's where you just use the ignition key. It goes in that wee, you see the wee hole in the middle of the grill there. So that's how you open your bonnet. So we're just in the cab here. This is your reverse camera here. Anytime you put the van in reverse, that'll come on, and you can remove this screen here. If you push in this back bit here, the screen will actually lift off, if you ever want to just lift it off out of the way. And the rest of the stuff's fairly car-like, really. You'll not be too long getting used to it. And you have these blinds here at the side. They just slide over and back, and they're magnetised. You can see there on each side. So you can just close them the whole way around the windscreen and around that side as well. So the only other thing you might have to look at is just the swivels. And these are the handles for the swivels for the seats. So you're just sitting in the seat, just move your swivel that way, and just spin your seat while you're sitting on it. That's what they are. So we're just looking in the wardrobe here. You have your aerial here, it lifts up and down. It just pulls up and down here. And you can tighten this nut here when you're travelling, and that keeps the aerial down. And the booster for it's actually over here in this wee cabinet. So you can sit your telly on there. And we've tested that there on our own TV and it's working okay. And then inside here now you have your main trip box, which is just your